Hello, hello, and welcome to our 11th annual, but first ever digital Passing the Mic Festival hosted by the Office of Multicultural Arts Initiatives, lovingly known as OMI, at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, home of the first and only full tuition scholarship program for hip hop and urban arts, First Wave. My name is Sophia Snow, and I'm the director of Oh My First Wave and proud alumna of the first ever inaugural cohort. So a little bit about me this week, this festival, what we're doing here. Upon returning to First Wave last year, I knew in this role that the first thing I wanted to do fall 2020 was revive this very festival. I rejoined the First Wave family last October, halfway through the fall semester, and then campus was shut down halfway through the spring semester. So like many of you, it's been a whirlwind of a year for our community. Yet somehow, with the deep thanks to the Oh My First Wave staff, the local Madison community, our national network, we were able to put our heads together and tirelessly over the last 4 weeks, figure out how to pull this off virtually. I'd like to begin by thanking all of our incredible partners who made this week possible: UW's Division of Diversity, Equity, and Educational Achievement, School of Education, Arts Division, Interdisciplinary Arts Residency Program, and the Wisconsin Book Festival. We also want to shout out our key partners across the country who will be participating in a youth intensive track alongside the public events this week: Youth Speak San Francisco, Oakland School of the Arts, Teen Hype Detroit, East Madison High School, Urban Word NYC, and the National Youth Poet Laureate Program. Historically, for the first 11 years, Passing the Mic was OMI's annual fall festival that did the bulk of First Wave recruitment. We would invite youth artist activist organizations from across the Midwest, a cohort we would name the Midwest All-Stars, and invite them to UW-Madison to showcase their talents, take workshops with First Wave staff and nationally acclaimed guest artists, tour the campus with First Wave scholars who were not that far removed in age, attend events at the Overture and the Wisconsin Historical Society, and every year felt like an annual retreat that brought new faces to our community who often ended up family. This year, we are so incredibly proud and excited to bring this community back, even if just through our screens, to keep this conversation going. This festival, called Passing the Mic, has historically been centered on an intergenerational dialogue. From teens to young adults to elders, we often focus on how hopeful young people are or how wise adults can be, but this space felt so special to bring the various demographics together to talk, to engage, to learn from one another, to share, to express, to create. How important is this space in this moment, especially in this moment? And I probably don't need to dote on how grim and heavy the world feels right now. But personally, I find that the core of my resistance is knowing that we're not alone in our fight against what we're facing. We stand on the shoulders of elders. We stand holding our young people, and each other. And so this year, in considering what the theme of PTM 2020 could be, what conversation could we have in this space, we landed on the concept of the American experiment, the big investigation of what it means to be free, of who gets to be citizen, of what does democracy look like, the popular vote versus the electoral college, of property, of education, of access to the means to live. Who wins and loses in the American experiment? Is this experiment working at all? Or is it working exactly how it was designed? This week, we'll have events every evening that investigate these questions. And so I can run through. We're starting tonight with an intergenerational showcase on the American experiment. We'll have some performances by First Wave students, responded to by the youth poet laureates, various youth poet laureates of our country, and followed by a real interesting conversation with some key members of our community. Tomorrow, Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time, we have a performance with the Interdisciplinary Arts Residency Program. Michelle Bird McPhee, who is our artist in residence, in partnership with faculty member Dwayne Holland. They're inviting Ursula Rucker, the nationally acclaimed poet, in conversation with Mark Bamuthi Joseph. It's going to be a great time. Wednesday, we'll have a session at the Diversity Forum within the Division of Diversity, Equity, and Educational Achievement. We're doing a panel plenary from 3:30 to 4:45 that investigates democracy, diversity, and the American experiment. Followed by Wednesday at 7 p.m., a First Wave reunion showcase, Past, Present, and Future, where we'll have members of cohorts 2 through 13 come together to perform and discuss the evolution of our program and community, also with our co-founding staff, Rafael Casal and Mark Bamuthi Joseph. Thursday at 5 o'clock, we'll have an event called The Vote, Equity, Access, and the American Experiment. We'll showcase various poems on voting by youth poet laureates of this country in conversation with Mahogany L. Brown, the artistic director of Urban Word NYC. That evening, Thursday night, we'll have a youth showcase where the various participants that we have joining us this week will perform works that they have generated this week, all interrogating the American experiment. On Friday, we're closing this incredible festival with the one and only Mark Bamuthi Joseph, who will be premiering a work called The Just and the Blind, or sharing a digital version of the work, The Just and the Blind. And on Saturday, we'll have a special Educators Institute from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., where we'll work with educators from all across the country to think about what it means to hold space for young people during this time. We'll be drawing on different educational theories such as sociocultural theory, culturally relevant pedagogy, critical race theory, and hip hop and social justice pedagogy. So we have a week that is stacked. That's the overview. You made it. If you'd like to register for free for any of these events, to get the links to see where they'll be streamed, please follow us on social media. We are Oh My First Wave on all channels. And we'd love to have you join us in this intergenerational conversation. So without further ado, I'd like to invite two extremely important guests to join me here on this screen. First, we have Chris Walker, professor of dance at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. He creates contemporary dance, theater, and performance artwork rooted in the visual and performance cultures of the African diaspora. He is the founding artistic director of the First Wave program here in OMI. He's also the choreographer with the National Dance Theater Company of Jamaica. Walker works in dance, theater, and film, and is the recent choreographer of The Secret Life of Bees, the musical produced by the Atlantic Theater in NYC. He is movement director of Bar's Workshop at the Public Theater NYC. Chris Walker has received numerous international and national grants and honors for his creative research. Earlier this year, Walker completed the Romney's Fellowship, which supported his research in homophobia in the African diaspora. This year, he was named one of the School of Education's Vision 2030 Faculty Fellows. Walker has taken First Wave, which received the Governor Arts Award in 2010, on local, national, and international tours, including the Contacting the World Festival in 2010 in Manchester, UK. He was selected to produce new work and perform nationally and internationally in Taiwan for the World Dance Alliance's International Young Choreographers Project, in Panama City for the Carasa 10th Anniversary Concert, and in New York, July 2010, in the World Dance Alliance General Assembly. It is really my honor to bring him to the screen right now for this conversation, as he will also be helping facilitate the rest of our hour together. The second person I would like to bring to the screen is Mark Bamuthi Joseph. He is a 2017 TED Global Fellow, an inaugural recipient of the Guggenheim Social Practice Initiative, an honoree of the United States Artist Rockefeller Fellowship. Bamuti's opera libretto, We Shall Not Be Moved, was named 2017's Best Classical Performances by the New York Times. His evening-length work was created in collaboration with Daniel Bernard Roumain. The Just and the Blind was commissioned by Carnegie Hall and premiered to a sold-out house in Carnegie in March 2019, which we will be viewing this Friday. Don't forget to register. His upcoming piece in his name is inspired by the forgiveness exhibited by the Congregation of Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston, and will premiere at the Perelman Center in New York in 2021. While engaging in a deeply fulfilling and successful artistic career, Bamuti also proudly serves as the Vice President and Artistic Director of Social Impact at the John F. Kennedy Center for Performing Arts in Washington, D.C. He is in high demand for his creative approach to organizational design, brand development, and community mediation, and has been enlisted as a strategic partner or consultant for many companies ranging from Coca-Cola to Carnegie Hall. His TED Talk on linking sport to freedom design among immigrant youth has been viewed more than 1 million times and is a testament to his capacity to distill complex systems into accessible and poetic presentations. Bamuti's community development philosophy, called the creative ecosystem, has been implemented in dozens of cities across the US and is subject of several critical writings, including one of the seminal essays in Cultural Transformations, Youth and the Pedagogies of Possibility, published by Harvard Education Press. Bamuti is the founding program director of the exemplary nonprofit Youth Speaks, who we have represented joining us this week, and is a co-founder of Life is Living, a national series of one-day festivals which activate under-resourced parks and affirm peaceful urban life. His articles have been published in Harvard Education Press. He's lectured more than 200 colleges and has carried adjunct professorships at Stanford and Lehigh, among others. Back in 2007, Bamuti was the interdisciplinary artist in residence here at UW-Madison. His residency gave birth to several multicultural hip hop and urban arts initiatives we carry on today. His residency in 2007 laid the foundation for Oh My to found the first wave in hip hop and urban arts learning community and scholarship that began just the following year. His residency brought in nationally acclaimed artists to work directly with MMSD local high schools and corralled the first generation of Midwest All-Stars that later snowballed into this very festival. It's an incredible honor to have him back in this capacity, as he helped curate the theme of the American experiment in this 11th annual Passing the Mic. It was really due to give these two full bios and introductions because we're thinking about what it means for this community to circle back, to pass the mic back again at this time and in this way. And I can't thank you two enough for really putting your heads together with mine and with our full team to not let this pandemic stop us. There's just too much going on in the world, and I'm just really honored to be joined by you. So with that being said, thank you, Chris and Bamuti. Thank you to everyone who is joining us on YouTube and in Facebook. We see the comments, keep them coming. And with that being said, I'm gonna pass this off to our faculty artistic director, Chris Walker.
Thank you, Sophia. Wow, what an introduction. And thank you, Bamu, for being here. Yeah, this is family. And so what you'll probably witness here today is a conversation among family and friends, because I feel too, the more we think to the founding of the First Wave program, there was a sort of familial underpinning that guide the founding voices. It was a sort of work that had to be done in your home. It was a sort of work that had to be done in your backyard. It's a sort of work that had to be done in your community. And Bamuti understood that in a way. And there was something in his bio that Sophia just said, to be able to take complex things and translate it into a poetic narrative that is accessible to a lot of people. And I felt like you brought that to our community. I came here in the fall of '06. Your residency was in the spring of '07. And what the Madison community experienced was that gift that you bring to a space, but also all the other people in your life who you felt like were manifesting those ideas and visions. And so the Madison community not only got to benefit from what you did as an artist, but all these different people who you collaborated with, and brought that into our space to have conversation with the young people, the next generation who is going to be unpacking these questions about who we are, what we are consuming, why we consume what we consume. So thank you, my brother, for taking on that residency. Thank you for being who you are and for bringing that work over here in the Midwest, and for being a part of what birthed what we know as the First Wave program.
Yeah, my great pleasure, my great honor. I feel very shy after hearing that long ass bio. So I feel kind of sheepish.
When people earn the long bio, you got to say the long bio.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I guess maybe that just means I'm old and haven't taken a nap in a long time. But that's also this theme of the American experiment. I think that's also the thing is, Chris, who journeys to this country to work, to teach, to thrive, to grow. My parents, who came to this country to do the same. The experiment is predicated on migration and hustle. We move and we work. And I started this thing a couple of weeks ago called 45 Lies. It's mostly it's a social media campaign asking artists to take 45 seconds each to confront a specific lie by the current occupant of the White House, and self-record a response. Folks like Daveed Diggs and Black Thought, Talib Kweli, Kerry Washington, Mumu Fresh, they've all participated. It's been great. But I've also remarked on folks who have responded specifically to our call by saying, well, politics isn't something that I mess with. I don't want to I don't want to directly engage the political moment. And I thought, what a privilege it is to assume that as an artist, you can't engage, nor should you engage the political moment. And that's also something, Chris and Sophia, that I think we've talked about at First Wave, that yes, it's about systems, and yes, it's about interdisciplinary art, and yes, but it's really about accountability and constructing a context for your art within a kind of responsibility matrix that includes being beholden to one another. And to a democratic ideal. So, and I mean that with a small d, not so much your specific political beliefs, but the belief that politics is one of the many colors of your creative spectrum. So thanks for having me. Thanks for engaging in this conversation, in landing and contextualizing the art that we make within the world that we want to live in.
That's right.
It really is an honor. So thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And so just so you understand that this entire week is going to be centered around these conversations of passing the mic, but also how we got to be where we are as a space. And then because we are where we are as a space, the responsibility that we have to elevate and to project certain voices and certain ideas, not just into the Madison space, but of course through this virtual media out into the world. So tonight we have two poets who will perform poetry for you, and two poet laureates who will respond. All All of them represent the 12th and the 13th cohort of the first wave program. The first one up will be a video recording of a work created by our 13th cohort poet laureate. Both poet laureates, Azura and both poet laureates will introduce themselves fully in their response to the poems. So I want to just let the poems speak for themselves. So I would like to introduce Azura's work. This is a collaborative work developed with a member of her cohort, Raul. But we're looking today only at the poetry and focusing on the text today and deconstructing this work. So we won't see the dance and movement portion. So thank you. Let's look at the loop.
Thank you.
My day ended before it begins. I wake towards today and shake tomorrow loose like stolen change. I crack my neck and yesterday's shadow floods my bedroom floor. How long have I been here? In my little room, I pace the yawning distance between its corners and try to stay afloat. Hostage ritual. I'll wake up better tomorrow. Next month, next year, things will be just like before. I'll have more warmth than the bed sheets I smother alone. Soon, I'll see my friends again. Hear more than the echo of time against this empty room. I check my phone, I call a friend, I play a game, I overdress for no occasion, I pretend to work, I sing myself to sleep. I sleep, I sleep, 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 I stretch, I crack my stiff spine, I try to look forward. I try to remember to pair this fog of silence. I try to find peace. I open the blinds. I close the blinds. I move to my chair. I move to my bed, to my memory. I lose track of the days, weeks, months. I lose track of the names. How long have we been here? My phone is a portal, an obituary lighthouse. The world gets more terrifying and ambient every passing year, month, week, day, hour. I'd go outside, but we're being killed. I fill my lungs with the same air I've been breathing for months. I'm here, still, and feel like I'm running a race with no cure. How long are we going to be here? Will we transcend this distance? Will we break this loop? My day ended before it begins.
And now, woohoo!
Okay. Oh my gosh, I'm just looking at people responding in the chat. If you like what you hear at any point, please feel free to send some of these young people some love in the chat here. Because
thank you, Azura. We're going to jump right into a response from Jackson.
Great.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jackson Neal. I am the 2019 Southwest Regional Youth Poet Laureate and the 2019 Houston Youth Poet Laureate, and I'll be responding to the incredible work of my dearest friend Azura Tayabchi. So I think what Azura articulates so precisely and so beautifully in her work is those exasperated reiterations of the now that we are feeling. My day ended before it begins. I think that what quarantine has demonstrated, when you're locked inside the room and you're locked inside the self, we've also had to reckon with the way that we're locked inside of history. when we're watching the violence unfold outside, we carry it with us in the inside. We know this story, we know how it goes. And that is that fear, that the lock, that the reiteration, that the cyclical nature of quarantine has demonstrated. That fear that we're never going to escape, because we know this story. We've seen it before, and we see it in the day. I wake up and I'm in the same room. I wake up, I'm in the same year, and I'm in the same country. We know these violences. We know this story. When does it end? Is the question that's kind of haunting us right now. I crack the sleep out of my neck, and yesterday's shadow floods my bedroom floor. I'm thinking how each day that I woke up in quarantine, I didn't know where time went. And time is so elusive right now. And time is a weapon, right? Some people ride through it and ascend, and some people are victims of time and what it does and how its weapons and technologies evolve against people. And the phone, which makes its debut in Azura's poem, is such a powerful tool of escapism and as a reminder of the weapons we're witnessing. I check my phone, I call a friend, I play a game, overdress for no reason, I pretend to work. The phone being a portal, it's what allows us to escape. And I know that, you know, like, as an artist, as a creator, and like as a queer person, the phone is a realm in which we reach people all of the time. And we were so alone, and technology became the only tether between us. The element of Eros, right, is that three-pronged concept of love, wherein you have two lovers and the thread between them. And I think currently the internet is what is creating that tie. And Azura names this tether as a kind of portal. And I think what she also names is that this portal takes us to elsewheres, as in utopia, and also to the known dystopia of our now. We checked our phone and we saw how outside they're killing us. We saw an endless stream of violence. And again, the question is, how do we escape? You know, Azura says, will we transcend this distance? Will we break this loop? And I think that is the question. Azura also ends with the same line as the beginning: my day ended before it begins. And I want to look at this as a kind of hope, right? Because even though we are stuck in this kind of cycle, in this stream that goes on and on and on, I think also there's a lesson to be learned there, right? Every time we repeat, every time we wake up, we have the information of yesterday, we have our ancestors, and we have the ancestors that are ourselves, and all of that knowledge that comes with it. And Azura provides us an avenue and an opportunity to take the knowledge that we received in this last iteration and bring it to the table again, and bring it to this new cycle, and hopefully arrive somewhere else. I want to, and I have to believe that we are going to ascend out of this, that this spiral, that this portal, you know, takes us into utopia. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. And we have been fighting for so long, but we have to go somewhere. And we are building new portals, and we are building new places to arrive. And I am so excited for the opportunity to arrive there, and for the makers who construct these portals, who construct the kind of imagination that will take us there. And I think Azura is among many of these creators who offer us a new way to arrive at that elsewhere. Again, my name is Jackson Neal, and it is such a pleasure to experience this work.
Oh, wow, wow, wow.
Just talk about unpacking.
Yes.
Unpacking. I'm sitting here like the ancestral knowledge that I have.
Mm-hmm. That's what y'all do at First Wave, man. You know, talk about critical theory, talk about distillation.
Wow, distillation.
That was some distillation. That was properly distilled.
Yes, yes.
Oh my goodness.
No. Powerful work from Missouri, powerful response from Jackson. I feel it. I feel it in my bones. So many of those images connect to my own life. How are you feeling about the work, y'all? How are you feeling about the work in terms of your own reflection? You know, is this making you think about where you've been, where you are, what's in front of us, and how we confront it? Jackson spoke of hope at the end, which I think is a remarkable sort of interpretation of it, because I thought I first felt it as like starting over and just caught in this hamster wheel. But that idea of being able to project oneself out of it is also a powerful place to be. So think about the work, think about how it inspires you as well to dig into your own processes, what you're going through, and how you're working through it. Do y'all have any thoughts on this before we go into the next piece? Because I know we're going to sit and unpack these together.
I mean, I guess one of the things that Azora's piece alluded to, and I felt like Jackson highlighted it just powerfully, I want to say beautifully, but beautifully and powerfully, was this idea of the internet as a mythical and real connection between people. And especially when we're coming up with, Gen Z and the TikTokers that get, executive orders from the president on their on their radar, because they use the internet and the tools that they have at their hands as a way to push back, not only to push back, but to connect with one another, to make those voices heard. We see that in the 45 Lies campaign, where you have the internet allows you for a space to actually build with other people, but to also amplify those voices at a whole new level. And, maybe not as much in recent years, but there was a time when young people were really looked down on for using the internet. Like these Twitter activists and Twitter fingers were a way of saying, like, you don't know how to gather people. And now we're in a place where we're kind of quarantined, and that is the main kind of form of gathering and connecting. And the young people were already ahead of the curve.
In every major movement throughout our history, young people are a little bit ahead of the curve. A little bit ahead of the curve. So who are we to not trust that? That's why this event is so important, because we get to center those voices and we get to hear from those voices. And more importantly, those of us who are in positions of power to do anything about it get to act on that knowledge. And that is where the work is. Let us hear from Alpha. Alpha Stokes is a 12 cohort scholar and com arts major right now, graduation year of 2023. Yes, Alpha, we are getting you out of here in record time. There's a book out right now, a book of poetry called A Wise Kid Once Said. So grab that on Barnes & Noble. Shameless plug. A Wise Kid Once Said by Alpha Stokes. But the poem we're going to share today is Rock, Paper, Scissors. And Azura, who you just met, will do a response to that. Thank you so much.
When me and my brother would fight, rock, paper, scissors is always how we decide who is right. Best 2 out of 3, 6 out of 10. But eventually another argument would begin. See, I was like, why does paper beat rock? Rock is hard, strong, resilient. It might be a little dirty, but just because paper is white, that doesn't make it right. He said, that's cute. You thought it could only be white? Nah, this paper be Benjamin Blue. Paper couldn't beat up rock, but paper told rock to shut up, told rock it was too loud, paid rock to sit the heck down, bought the dirt, bought the rain, made the mud and buried rock in it, paid rock to be a rock paper could stand on. But guess you were right. Not always blue. Sometimes this paper come arrest warrant white. Call rock criminal, call rock crook, cut rock open in front of rock's family, harvest hidden fossils as evidence, later sell it as art. Urban chic now controls what little rock pebbles think. Rock may have attained more minerals. Rock may have a stronger base, but paper Paper had a lot more space to out-organize rock, plan, organize, genocide, legalize our great divide, divide and conquer. Divide and conquer, pin rock against scissor. So when scissor gets fed up, when scissor is ready to cut up, tell paper it got her messed up. Rock destroys scissor, and paper silences rock. Paper comforts rock, hugs rock, says, shh, don't start a revolution. Counteracts rock's feeling of defeat, hurries to force feed rock, transitory utopia of deceit, gives rock a cartoon, a water fountain. The president calls this heaven sent, says, see, I don't want to hurt you, just hide you. I don't want your knees in the dirt, but I hold no culture. You can't complain, I'm not that heavy anyways. He says that's cute. You imagine one good old-fashioned sheet, but this paper be textbook new. Convivially teaches rock of one-sided ancestry, says rock be violent, throwing stone, bring death to the guilty. Says rock be hatred through cop car window, riot, rock brings sparks flying, turn the pages, says paper be holy. Says paper be finance and education, paper be constitution, paper be eco-friendly, make everything better, paper be love letter, says paper be treaty, tells rock you need me, then reels in rock renegades, railroad rock revolutionists, nationally announces, don't hate the player, hate the game. Now pledge allegiance to this cycle. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, Trayvon, you. Rock, paper, please don't.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Wow.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Let's see. Hi everyone. I'm so shook from that poem again. Like, oh my god. Hi everyone. My name is Azura Tayabji. I'm from the 13th cohort. I was the 2018-19 Seattle Youth Poet Laureate and National Youth Poet Laureate Ambassador for the West Region. And I have the privilege of responding to Alpha's poem. I'm just filled with so much like gratitude to be here and to be a part of this lineage and to be in conversation with Alpha's poem and also the like OGs also on this stage. I think with this poem, it embodies what the role of a poet is supposed to do, which is take the ordinary and to make it meaningful, to expose the meaning that's inherent in things that we take for granted and don't usually analyze. Alpha's poem gives a perspective on rock, paper, scissors that demands a reckoning for the injustice in this country that we're used to just letting play out cyclically on its own. I see our two poems as in conversation with each other too. A common theme with them being the like cyclical nature of the oppression that we're facing. We've been fighting the same shit for generations, over and over and over again. Every unjust attack, every tragedy feels like the next round of the same game that we're set to lose every time. And it's exhausting. And I felt that in the pace of her delivery, in desperation, like of her words. It feels impossible to break out of this cycle and to even imagine breaking out of it and what a world would look like if these forces weren't set against each other, if we didn't have militarized police, if we didn't have white supremacy. And a line that particularly struck me was paper force feeds rock a romanticized transitory utopia of deceit. Give rock a cartoon, a water fountain, a president calls this heaven sent. And then later, paper saying, I don't want to hurt you, just hide you. I'm not heavy anyways. And paper's power lies in that illusion, in reducing the effects of white supremacy to being light. Its power is in how we're seduced into complacency, that we're taught to just play along, that if we're respectable enough, then we'll survive and just make it through and that will be enough. We're taught to settle for scraps. We're taught to settle for just reforms when the impacts of white supremacy are so glaringly urgent and so devastating that they should not be ignored and paved over. And what I love about Alpha's poem is that despite this devastation, she emphasizes the strength of the rock, of Black people in this country. You know, the rock is covered repeatedly, but the rock is never fully crushed, no matter what. Rocks gather more minerals over time. They gather more wisdom. They gather more resilience. Rocks get stronger with age. Resistance is a tradition set in stone. Movements may feel like they've been fossilized, but really they're still here. And we're building off of foundations of our ancestors and of our histories. And I think what a necessary poem does is it uses metaphor. I see the shout out for an extended metaphor in the chat. Love to see it. But also it cuts straight to the concealed heart of a problem that we're so afraid to confront. The scissors, who's my favorite character in this poem. Love the scissors. Scissors call for a dynamic and precise strategy. They demand justice right now, not politeness, not compromise, not shaming real demands for change. At the end of the poem, the game repeats. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, please don't. We are in desperate and urgent times, and we need to use the tools of the rock that have been passed down from ancestors, from our history, and we need to break the cycle. So I'm so thankful to hear this poem by Alpha and to be in conversation with you all. Thank you so much for your words.
Thank you.
You as well.
Thank you. Wow. Beautiful, powerful, and insightful response. Bamu, you take it.
Man, y'all are so smart. Damn.
Here, like, try not to cry about it.
Just a quick note about design, because games have rules. Games are metaphors. Football players are gladiators. The gladiators are avatars for our kind of principles of gender or of equality, of these kinds of things. Outside of the metaphor, outside of the games, outside of kind of notes on oppression, there's also within the capacity of the artist to design something else.
Right.
And I'm curious, like, if the Declaration of Independence were written today, we probably wouldn't have chosen Thomas Jefferson to write it. We would have chosen like Mata del Valle, or we would have chosen Azura, or we'd have, like we would have chosen somebody with a sharper pen.
Right.
There's so much in the Constitution. There's so much in the Declaration of Independence that's about authoring a kind of design around the democratic ideal. I think that as we talk about these cycles of oppression, there's also an opportunity to design our freedom, to design not just to describe what a liberation movement might look like, but to take on an 18th century or 19th century or 17th century conceit and design our way out. So with the inventiveness of the poem and the inventiveness of poets to think about constructs of oppression and kind of deconstruct them in a way that has like aesthetic resonance, we could use that same power. We could use that same gift and make something else. And I'm curious, as we continue to explore this idea of the experiment, like what are we, the facilitators, and what are we, the poets, doing on that end? Like, how are we prompting a different kind of hypothesis around American identity, political governance, cohabitation, etc.? Like, we write these poems that beautifully kind of restructure a reality. Where are the poems that author a different kind of reality? If we can design a car, if we can design a system that deports us, if we can design a system that incarcerates us, then we can also design our freedom.
Right.
Those are the poems I'm looking for this week.
Yeah. You hear that, young folk? Hear that, or youth poets? Hear that, or coaches or mentors? There's a brother, look at it right here, George Lamming, Sovereignty of the Imagination. You see how tiny that book is? It's a lecture. One of those phenomenal lectures that got published. And one of the things he talk about is the importance for us to name things for ourselves. And in naming things for ourselves, you start to see a new design for yourself. So it's not locked into even how somebody else define a particular idea, but you start to define it for yourself, you start to name it for yourself, you start to create systems that reflect your needs. So yes, y'all, the work is inspiring, the work is triggering in the best of ways. Thank you for that conversation around it. We could do this all night, but I'm looking at the time, and I definitely want to hear Bamuti's, at least your creative thoughts on this theme before we bring this part of the session to close. And we're going to join the youth poets who are here in a Zoom session, in a private Zoom session, because we'll be doing workshops to unpack these things in a more intimate way toward individual and collaborative work that we'll present towards the end of the week. So yeah, Bamuti, what do you have any creative thoughts you want to share with us on this particular topic? I love it how you went mute automatically.
Yeah,
I have a conspiracy theory around how he got muted because
there's no conspiracy theory. I'm just learning to silence. There's a time for each.
Right.
All right, so I'm gonna share a poem.
Please.
Is it cool?
Please.
Okay. I'm on the way to Wrigley Field, straight off a red-eye, drunk with tired, giddy with a group of misfits. I see some wet cement, and in 23-year-old brain, I think it is a sign. I get a stick and attempt to leave my Oakland print, my poet tag, seeking, which, yes, my pen name was a transitive verb, not a proper noun. So yes, I pretentious, I poet, right? S-E-E-K-I. And I hear someone yell behind me. And it's Chicago PD. And I don't understand what they see, don't know if writing your name in cement is some infamous and nefarious gateway crime, but they arrest me. And I'm sharing a holding cell with a cat that has a swastika tat on his forehead. I watch him. He never looks up. For hours, it's like this, lonely souls in a box. And there must be some kind of mistake, because what he probably did and what I barely did are definitely not the same. But who am I going to complain to? The cops? I start talking to myself. Free right. I start talking freedom again. A 14th Amendment referendum equally legally protected. These false laws are grave weight, and I am a sable Pegasus winged above this mess. Black freedom is fly, nigga. No stress, no seeds, no stems. No, I am a man among many, greater and lesser than, not equal and not equally free. There's an elegance to my genetic inheritance that make motherfuckers wanna oppress me. Like oppression is supposed to impress me. Like I don't come from a line of rioting Haitians. Like I don't don't breathe in jazz circles like Gillespie, like I don't sound like Lettucey, like I ain't never read Black Odyssey or listened to Shaka Khan, like I don't know. My legacy is to get free, and yet the protectors of my legal freedom is out to get me. Whoa. 1 in 4 of us are system involved, like 1 in 2 women are victims of sexual assault, heat-seeking racism, and weaponized patriarchy. Man, can I just be outside of that? Like have my Starbucks and Air Force Ones and my iPhone still, but also outside of that? Can we have it all? Or can we have just some? Like let go of the part where I can't be an 11-year-old at the park or an 18-year-old on the train or a 26-year-old on his wedding day. I want the part with wedding bells and wanderlust and borderlessness, next level Kendrick stuff, Eddie Kendrick's falsetto tempting the top of the scale. I am of the people that built this country. Now 2 million of us in jail. That don't seem just or even mathematically probable. Aren't we of the island and of New Orleans? Aren't we of the water, a protest up a flagpole? Don't these bones and this flesh, this white smile born underwater, daughter of the dust, juxtaposition of the spoken and the unspeakable? I'm fully mumbling, locked in a box. My poems are avatars of some sinister inertia. My words ain't set me free, man. I had some friends that posted my bail. Out the door, I took a slip with my court date on it. Fool, I was free. I ain't never went back. 3 years pass. I will be a father soon. I'm driving from Seattle to Vancouver. Me and some poet misfits, misgendered, weird piercings. We are stopped at the border. That's where I learn of my warrant. I went north, but couldn't cross. A straight line in wet cement. Border patrols say, turn around. Say, turn yourself in. Say, no north for you until after you face the music. I look north and imagine Aurora Borealis, think no light is meant to be captured. Thanks.
Ooh.
Okay.
Home, breathe just for a little bit. Settle in the room for a little bit. Thank you, Damu. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant as always. Brilliant as always. The way you move through our history, the way you move through our migratory history, the way you move through our acts of resistance, the way you move through our constant and unending contributions to what it means to be here and to be a space. Really powerful, really, really powerful work. Wow. I'm swallowing. I'm looking at the time and I'm a little bit nervous because I want to jump into a conversation about this.
Okay. That's another 2 hours on that last poem.
2 hours. So I just wanna share out that what we're doing here this week is this type of intergenerational dialogue. So we just listened to poetry from first wave scholars, 2 different generations, 12th cohort, 13th cohort. We just listened to responses from first wave scholars, 2 generations, 12th and 13th cohort. Most of the folks who are on this live session right now are youth poets, and they will be responding to the prompt, the American experiment, that all the poets today, including Bamuti, responded to. And what we heard were multiple points of entry, even in the responses. And so I want you to think about what you experienced in the last 55 minutes in terms of the subject matter and the different ways that these artists have chosen to enter that subject matter. Because it's not about trying to make something outside of yourself, but you're the authority on your experience. And if you start there,
Amen.
if you start there, you'll be able to start unpacking this particular prompt. So we're excited about jumping into workshop with you in a few minutes, but I want to just open up a little bit for a few 3 minutes of conversation around this, and officially to take a moment to introduce Sophia Snow, who's been leading us today and who is our new executive director for the Office of Multicultural Arts Initiatives. And Bamuti knows this, that at the start of the First Wave program, one of the things we talked about was pay it forward. That these students we recruit, we know they're going to return to communities and do this work. We know they're going to go in the field and do this. We know they're going to be the future leaders, the future presidents, the future so on and so forth. And so it is highly fulfilling that Sophia, a first cohort graduate of the program, has returned as the executive director of the program. Sophia has a featured range of publications for her poetry, featured on television and theater. She's featured in the Boston Globe, Cosmopolitan Magazine, American Girl, of course, WWE Network, and of course the Public Theater, where she's worked with us on Bars Workshop. And she's come back to us from working with Urban Word, New York City. So even after graduation, she continued work in youth engagement, youth education, youth arts, and youth leadership, which is dear to her heart. So this is no joke thing for me. This is what she absolutely loved to do. She moved back from the East Coast, which is close to her mommy. And notice I said mommy, because she moved here because this is what she loves to do. And I want to close this session by highlighting your contribution to My First Wave and what it represents. With Sophia Snow, we also have James Gavins, who is our creative director, who's been working very closely with our students and who did the filming on some of the things you saw, both of the things you saw today as well. So we have an amazing team, and James represents the second cohort of the First Wave program. And I'm also on the team from First Wave. I'm gonna let Sophia do this one. Or social media director.
I know I have to shout out our digital media manager, who swears she does not want to be on the screen, but honestly, we're on this platform here today because she found a digital way to make this happen. Coming from the Bay Area, San Francisco native, alumna of the 6th cohort of First Wave. Please reveal yourself, Gretchen Carvajal. Thank you so much for making
There you go.
from behind the scenes, stage managing the whole production. We appreciate you and love you. But it really is, Chris, thank you for that generous introduction and for calling this moment here too. As Gretchen got the power to shut herself off. See how she did that? But Bamuti, something that you said was about investing in imagination, and the revolution requires that. It's, I think, one of the greatest disservices of oppression is that it puts our back against the wall to constantly react, to observe and react. And it's so, you have to dig so deep to find the energy to imagine a whole new world. So I just appreciate, and I'm so grounded in this community, because I think this community was really one of, if not the first space that allowed me to really dream up what we could do, who we could be. And even as a young person in Boston, I had a lot of great mentors, and I was a part of my, various community organizing efforts as a teen. So I won't say that I never had that, but First Wave said, we got you on the tuition. We got you on the stipend. We got, just go to class and think about what you want to see and do. And being in that kind of space with other young people, and then being put in front of incredible thinkers like Professor Chris Walker and yourself, Bamuti, and Rafael Casal, who will join us later this week, and other Chinaka Hodge, and so many people who were so steeped in imagination. It's really an honor to be back in this capacity specifically, but also among other alumni who know exactly what I'm talking about when I say, let's just try something new. And so a huge shout out to James, who is literally the Renaissance man of life, can film, can post-produce, all of that, and who will be co-facilitating this next workshop with our youth participants from around the country. And huge shout out to Gretchen, who has been tirelessly making it pop, making it do what it do. So thank you.
As we close out, y'all, one thing I want you to think about. We are in the time we are in. We are creating because of this time, not in spite of it.
Right.
Yes.
Because of this time, not in spite of it. So we are investigating what live performance look like now, what it looks like to share space, to even share in a virtual space. So those of you who aren't joining us in workshops, what we'll be working on are individual work, but ideas of digital collaboration. How do you collaborate using the platforms that are available to us right now? So even if you're developing work on your own, I really encourage you, if you've been chatting to anybody in the chat there, reach out. Maybe you'll start to build something together. One love. Thank you all so much for being here. Young folks and your mentors, please join us in the next session on Zoom.
On Zoom, yes. Thank you, Bamuthi, and thank you, our poets. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everyone.
Great honor.
See you there. See you tomorrow.
All right, catch y'all.
Yep.